In this module, we'll talk about the World English's implications for teacher education vis-a-vis native English-speaking teachers. The need for an understanding of World English's view is not important only for non-native English teachers, the teachers who work in expanding or outer circle, but also for native English teachers. They also need to have a complete understanding of this global view of English language teaching and English for several reasons. One, they may also go out to the outer and expanding circle countries and work there, as we have lots of native English teachers working in many Asian countries like China, Japan, Korea, etc. And also to be fully aware of the ELT situation and to be completely well versed with their own profession. They need to have this understanding of the World English's perspective, which is prevalent in English language teaching these days. So what can be done to make them aware of the this current global perspective? One thing that can be done is to expose these teachers, future teachers, to the different varieties of English that we have in the world today. And it is not as difficult as it was some decades ago, because there's a large body of research which has been conducted in different areas of world Englishes, including language descriptions, vocabulary, pedagogy, creative literature, etc. So it is not difficult to expose these teachers to different varieties of English. And with this kind of exposure, it is hoped that these teachers will also develop this understanding that there are different varieties of English and all these varieties are as good as native English varieties. So what is needed is the training of these teachers, not only in methodologies and grammatical descriptions of the standard English, but also the grammatical descriptions of world Englishes. Not only that, for example, one should not restrict their training to these central issues of methodologies and theories, but the other dimensions of English language teaching, these socio-linguistics and socio-cultural dimensions which have emerged as a result of spread of English to different parts of the world, should also be made. These teachers should also made aware of these developments. For example, the kind of role and status that English has in, let's say, Pakistan, how it is used as a tool for empowerment, as a marker of social identity, and the issues which are related to English language teaching because of all these social dimensions. These dimensions also have to be fully understood by even native English teachers. So it is extremely important, extremely pertinent to include World English perspective in teacher education of native English teachers as well. Despite this understanding of the importance of World Englishes, the in-depth research in different areas of World Englishes began only in the late 1970s. And the world of ELT is still undergoing this absorption period, which means that although it has been quite a few decades since this research started, the overall understanding of the ELT regarding world Englishes is still undergoing a developmental kind of period. So the world is still going through this absorption period of the fact, the understanding that we have different varieties of English and not just one variety of English. So despite all this research and understanding and insistence on including World English's perspective in teacher education, there are very few MA TESOL programs around the world which include theoretical material on world Englishes. So there are few teacher education programs, especially at the MA level in international universities, which include theoretical material on the teaching of world Englishes or on raising this awareness of world Englishes. Um, there are probably one of the reasons is that the advantages of maintaining a hierarchical view of English. This perspective is not included in teacher education because perhaps it is to the advantage of the native English teachers and native English English language teaching world to have this hierarchical view, which places the native English and native English teachers at the top, and all the others then are subordinate to native English and native English teachers. And this is to their advantage. This earns them a lot of revenue. This gives them a lot of value when it comes to hiring teachers and also teacher educators. The other reason perhaps is the limited time available for the coverage of the entire curriculum. So the focus of these programs is the training or understanding of methodologies and theories, and the other issues, social, cultural, linguistic issues related to world Englishes or the spread of English around the world in different societies and cultures are often overlooked and not made a part of these teacher education programs. This world Englishes paradigm has begun to have an effect on the world, especially ELT now. We see that compared to the past, there's an increase in the acceptance of local and regional norms. So for example, there was a time when the regional varieties were completely rejected, but now there's an increase in the acceptance of these regional varieties, and also acceptance of vis-a-vis the use of these regional models for teaching purposes. Many standardized tests have also now started using regional norms in selecting correct answers. For example, until a few years back, if you wrote equipments in a test, this would be considered completely wrong. Although the use of S with many uncountable nouns, for example, equipment, is a characteristic of outer circle English. So there is more acceptance of the norms of the outer circle English or different varieties of English in the ELT world generally. Another effect of world English paradigm that we see is in terms of the use of classroom teaching materials, which now include representations of speakers from different contexts. So we have names in English language textbooks which are from China, from Pakistan. Mrs. Khan is or Mr. Khan is a common name that appears in books which are brought out by American publishers these days. So we see at least some representation of speakers from different parts of the world in English language textbooks and other material which is used for English language teaching around the world. So what is needed is the inclusion of world English perspectives in teacher education programs, not only for non-native English teachers but also native English speaking teachers.